Have you ever noticed how the world seems to move faster and faster, yet peace feels further and further away? We wake up chasing numbers on a screen. We measure our worth by the size of our houses, the brand on our clothes, the digits in our bank accounts. Somewhere along the way, we traded silence for noise, stillness for speed, contentment for craving. And what are we chasing, really? A little more, just a little more. A little more money to feel secure. A little more status to feel respected. A little more stuff to feel alive. But like water cupped in trembling hands, the tighter we cling to it, the faster it slips away. In every city skyline, every boardroom, every overcrowded street, there's a quiet ache that money can't seem to cure. And if you listen carefully, in the hush between paychecks, in the emptiness after a purchase, in the sleepless nights counting invisible fears, you'll sense it. A hunger that's never satisfied. A thirst no amount of wealth can quench. It isn't a modern problem. It's an ancient one. And over 2,500 years ago, a man born into unimaginable wealth gave it all up to understand why. Siddhartha Gautama, the one the world would come to know as the Buddha, was not unfamiliar with luxury. Born a prince, surrounded by gardens, servants, and gold, he lived a life that most would envy. But inside those palace walls, he sensed a deeper question, one that no jewel-studded throne could answer. Why do we suffer? Why, with everything we possess, do we still feel hollow? And so, he left it all behind. He walked away from silk robes and royal banquets, not because he believed wealth was evil, but because he realized that attachment to it was a chain. A subtle one, a beautiful one, but a chain nonetheless. In the forest, among ascetics and hermits, he sought answers. And what he discovered wasn't a rejection of money, nor an obsession with poverty. It was a path beyond both, a middle way. A way where money is neither a god nor a demon, neither the root of joy nor the cause of all misery. A way where wealth is a tool, powerful, yes, but dangerous only when it owns us, rather than the other way around. And yet here we are, centuries later, still tangled in the same web. Social media flaunts lives curated for envy. Advertising teaches us that happiness can be bought in 6 easy payments. And success, it's measured not by wisdom, not by compassion, but by what we wear, drive, and deposit. But if wealth alone were the key, wouldn't the richest among us be the most peaceful? Wouldn't the man in the penthouse sleep easier than the monk in the forest? And yet, more often than not, it's the quiet, content soul with little who radiates a kind of happiness no money can buy. You see, it's not about how much we have. It's about how tightly we cling to what we have. About whether we possess our things or our things possess us. And so, as we begin this journey together, we'll explore what the Buddha truly taught about money. Not from a place of scolding or renunciation, but from understanding. From wisdom earned through centuries of human experience. We'll unravel why craving leads to suffering, why some of the wealthiest hearts feel the poorest, why ethical livelihood matters, why generosity isn't just a virtue but a kind of liberation, and perhaps most importantly, why contentment, simple, overlooked contentment, might be the greatest treasure of all. This isn't a sermon, it's a reflection, an invitation to look gently at our own relationship with money, to question, to feel, to awaken. Because at the end of every fortune, beneath every possession, within every craving, lies a simple truth. You cannot buy what you're really looking for. And perhaps, just perhaps, you never needed to. Let's begin. There's a curious thing about human nature. When we sense danger in one direction, we tend to swing wildly to the other. When we see people consumed by greed, we praise those who renounce everything. When wealth brings suffering, poverty is mistaken for virtue. But wisdom, as it turns out, lives somewhere in between. The Buddha knew this well. After leaving the palace, he spent years as an ascetic, denying his body, starving his senses, punishing himself in search of enlightenment. For days, he ate nothing but a single grain of rice. He slept under trees, exposed to rain, heat, and cold. He He chased the farthest edge of self-denial, believing that perhaps, in stripping life of all pleasure, truth would reveal itself. But it didn't. His body grew weak, his mind clouded, and in the aching silence of his hunger, he realized something profound. Excess leads to suffering, but so does deprivation. Neither wealth nor poverty held the answer. Neither indulgence nor punishment could bring lasting peace. And so, under the shade of a Bodhi tree, Siddhartha embraced a new path, one untouched by extremes. He called it the middle way. It wasn't about rejecting money. It wasn't about worshiping it either. It was about understanding its nature and its place. You see, money, like fire, can warm a home or burn it down. It depends on who holds it and how. In Buddhist teaching, wealth itself isn't inherently good or evil. It's neutral, a tool, a form of energy exchanged between people. What matters is how it's obtained, how it's used, and whether it controls us or we control it. If earned with greed, deceit, or harm, it leaves a stain on the heart. If clung to with fear or obsession, it breeds endless craving. But if acquired honestly, used mindfully, and shared generously, it becomes a force for good, a way to ease suffering, not deepen it. This is why the Buddha taught right livelihood, one of the 8 folds of the Noble Eightfold Path. It reminds us to earn a living in ways that cause no harm to others, no exploitation, no deceit. Because the money we carry is never just paper or numbers. It carries the weight of the actions that created it. And yet, it goes deeper. Because even money gained righteously can become a chain if we cling too tightly. The middle way asks a simple question. Can you hold wealth without letting it hold you? Can you enjoy the comforts it brings without depending on them for your peace? Can you lose it without losing yourself? It's a delicate balance, one the world rarely teaches. In a culture of endless consumption, where self-worth is measured by possessions, choosing moderation feels almost rebellious. But there's a quiet power in it, in not needing to flaunt what you own, in being content with enough, in using your wealth to lift others rather than to elevate yourself, in recognizing that money can ease burdens, but it can never buy the absence of craving. The middle way is not about how much you have, but how lightly you carry it. It teaches that pleasure isn't sinful, it's natural. Comfort isn't a weakness, it's a part of life. But neither should they become the compass that steers your choices. When we let go of obsession, of desperate chasing or rigid rejection, we open ourselves to something far greater: freedom. Freedom to live fully without fear of loss. Freedom to give without calculating return. Freedom to rest in a kind of peace no amount of gold can weigh. And that's the heart of it. Not to demonize money, not to glorify poverty, but to see both for what they are: fleeting conditions in a life far vaster than material things. The Buddha's middle way reminds us that wisdom isn't found at the extremes. It blooms in balance, in clarity, in seeing the world not as something to conquer or escape, but as something to understand. And once we do, we realize the richest person isn't the one with the most. It's the one who needs the least. Let's follow this thread further, because if craving is the root of suffering, what exactly does it mean to crave? And why does the mind cling so desperately, even when it knows better? The answer lies in a deeper truth about the human heart, and we'll uncover it next. If the middle way teaches us balance, then what throws us off balance? The Buddha was clear about this. It wasn't the world itself that caused suffering. It wasn't the existence of wealth or poverty or even pleasure and pain. It was the mind's reaction to them, the endless craving, the desperate attachment. Craving, in Pali, it's called tanha, a thirst, a burning hunger that gnaws at the soul, always whispering, just a little more, just one more thing. Then you'll be happy. But here's the cruel trick: it never ends. We crave wealth, believing it will bring security. We crave status, hoping it will deliver respect. We crave possessions, thinking they'll fill the emptiness inside. And sometimes we get them. For a moment it feels good, but like water through cupped hands, the satisfaction slips away. Why? Because craving isn't about having, it's about wanting. and wanting by its nature can never be satisfied. The moment one desire is fulfilled, another arises. A better job, a bigger house, a newer phone, a higher number in the bank account, on and on it spins. And it isn't just material things. We crave attention, we crave validation. We crave control over our future and freedom from our past. This constant reaching creates a restless mind, always leaning toward what it doesn't have, blind to what it does. And when we're not craving, we're clinging. Attachment, the flip side of craving. We get something we like: money, love, praise, and we latch onto it. We build walls around it. We fear losing it. And the moment there's a threat, anxiety blooms. But here's what the Buddha saw under the Bodhi tree: everything is impermanent. Every dollar you earn, every relationship you cherish, every success you achieve, even your own body, all of it will change, all of it will fade. The problem isn't that things pass away, that's the nature of life. The problem is that we resist it. We cling to what's slipping through our fingers, and in that clinging, we suffer. A wise monk once compared it to holding a rope. If you grip it lightly, you can adjust as it moves. But if you hold too tightly and the rope is yanked away, your hands bleed. That's what attachment does. It makes us bleed over things we were never meant to possess forever. And money, it's one of the easiest traps, because it promises so much: freedom, power, respect. And in small doses, it can provide those things. But the craving for it, the attachment to it, can consume lifetimes. Some spend their entire lives chasing wealth they'll never use. Others hoard it, terrified of loss. Some compare themselves endlessly to those with more, believing it says something about their worth. But in the end, none of it can travel with us. At the moment of death, the rich and the poor leave with the same empty hands. The Buddha didn't ask us to hate wealth. He asked us to see it clearly, to recognize craving when it arises, to loosen our grip when we feel ourselves clinging. Because when you crave nothing, you fear nothing. And when you cling to nothing, you lose nothing. That's real freedom. Imagine walking through life, able to enjoy what comes without needing it to stay, able to release what leaves without falling apart, able to hold money, success, even love with open hands. This isn't apathy. It's not detachment in the cold, indifferent sense. It's clarity. It's knowing that everything we touch is temporary, so we savor it while it's here and bow when it departs. And from that space, generosity blooms. Not generosity as a duty, but as a joy. Because when you stop craving more, you realize you already have enough. And enough is a beautiful thing. So how do we move from craving to contentment? Is it as simple as wishing it away? Or is there a deeper practice? A way to train the heart to let go without losing its warmth? That's where the wisdom of right intention and mindful wealth enters the story, and it's waiting for us just ahead. There's a truth we all learn sooner or later. Not all money is created equal. Some wealth nourishes, some wealth poisons. It's not about the number in your bank account, it's about how it got there, and what it does to the heart carrying it. The Buddha understood this deeply. He saw that the path to freedom wasn't just about letting go of craving or softening attachment. It was also about the way we move through the world, the choices we make, the way we earn our living. In the Eightfold Path, the ancient map to awakening, there's a step called right livelihood, and it matters more than most people realize. Right livelihood asks one simple, powerful question. Does the way you earn your living cause harm, or does it nurture life? Because money is not neutral. It carries the energy of its origin. A fortune made by cheating carries the weight of deceit. A business built on violence sows seeds of suffering. A career that exploits others leaves invisible wounds, both in the world and in the person earning the wage. That's why the Buddha discouraged 5 types of livelihood for those seeking peace. 1. Trading in weapons. Creating tools of violence is planting pain in the soil of the world. 2. Trading in living beings. This includes slavery, trafficking, and yes, exploiting animals as mere commodities. 3. Trading in meat. Not as nourishment for survival, but as a profit-making venture built on suffering. 4. Trading in intoxicants. Anything that clouds the mind, leads to heedlessness, or feeds addiction. 5. Trading in poisons. Anything designed to harm the body, mind, or spirit. But this isn't some ancient list for monks alone. It's a living wisdom, timeless and relevant. Because every job, every business, every financial choice we make has ripples. And those ripples return to us, not as punishment, not as some cosmic revenge, but as the natural unfolding of cause and effect. If you sow seeds of harm, harm will grow in your life. If you sow seeds of kindness, integrity, and care, that too will blossom. And it isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It's about the courage to ask, is what I do for money bringing peace or suffering into the world? And if the answer makes you uneasy, that's the start of wisdom. The Buddha never demanded poverty. He welcomed householders, merchants, even kings among his followers. He simply asked them to earn honestly, to trade fairly, to pay workers justly, to avoid harm where possible, and to use wealth as a tool for good, not a weapon of control. Because wealth, when gathered ethically, becomes a source of generosity. And generosity isn't about numbers. It's about heart. A single coin given with sincerity shines brighter than a fortune hoarded in fear. Right livelihood also asks us to consider not just what we avoid, but what we embrace. What if your work could be a blessing? What if your livelihood lifted others, healed wounds, fed the hungry, or simply added a little more beauty to the world? Every farmer, teacher, healer, artist, honest merchant, these aren't just jobs. They're sacred acts when done with care. And even in difficult systems, even within flawed industries, one can work with mindfulness. One can refuse to cheat. One can choose honesty over gain, kindness over speed, dignity over exploitation. Because every moment we exchange our time for money, we're also trading pieces of our soul. The Buddha's wisdom invites us to ask, is the trade worth it? And if it's not, if it drains your spirit, if it darkens your heart, then perhaps it's time to begin the quiet, brave work of change. It doesn't have to be drastic. Not every path requires leaving everything behind, but small shifts matter, choosing fairness where possible, speaking truth where it counts, saying no to harm even when no one is watching. And from those simple acts, an ethical life is built, a life where money doesn't own you, a life where wealth serves wisdom, a life where you lie down at night knowing your hands are clean. Because the richest person in the world is not the one with the most, but the one who rests without regret. And as you walk this path, a new relationship with money begins to take root, one where wealth is not the enemy, nor is it the master. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a tool, a means to nourish life, to care for others, to build peace where you can. And when wealth flows through clean hands, it leaves no stain behind. But even as we learn to earn rightly, a deeper question lingers. How should we use the wealth we have? Not just in grand gestures, but in everyday choices, in generosity, in care, in simplicity. That's where the heart of mindful wealth truly begins to bloom, and it's waiting for us just ahead. There's a kind of happiness the world rarely talks about. It doesn't come from acquiring, collecting, or conquering. It doesn't arrive wrapped in silk or stamped with a price tag. It blooms quietly in the simple act of letting go. The Buddha called it Dāna, the practice of generosity, and not as charity, not as obligation, not as a way to buy merit points for the next life, but as a liberating art, a path to freedom from the tight, anxious grip of possession. Because if craving is a root of suffering, then giving is its antidote. You see, the moment you give truly with no strings attached, something remarkable happens. Your hand opens, and so does your heart. You realize you weren't holding money. The money was holding you. And when you release it, even a little, the invisible chains of attachment loosen. In Buddhist wisdom, Dāna isn't about how much you give. It's about how you give. A handful of rice, a kind word, a small gesture of help when no one's watching, these carry as much weight in the eyes of wisdom as a king's ransom. Because true giving isn't measured in numbers. It's measured in intention. Is your heart free in the moment of giving? Are you offering because it feels right, clean, joyful? Or are you secretly hoping for applause, favor, or future gain? The practice of Dāna invites us to give without expectation, to let generosity be its own reward. And paradoxically, when we do, a deep, quiet joy arises. Not the fleeting thrill of buying, not the pride of display, but a contentment that leaves no aftertaste. It's the peace of knowing you've lightened someone's burden, that in a world obsessed with taking, you chose to offer. The Buddha often taught that generosity is the first step on the path. Why? Because a generous heart is a heart that's already begun to loosen its chains. Before wisdom, before meditation, before the lofty philosophies. The path begins with a simple question: what can I give? And it's not always money. In fact, the most precious gifts are rarely material. You can give your time, to listen when someone's unheard. You can give your patience. To those stumbling through life's difficulties, you can give your forgiveness. To someone carrying the weight of their own mistakes, you can give your presence. To a world starved for authentic human connection, because in truth, we are all beggars in one way or another, hungry for kindness, thirsty for compassion, wounded by loneliness. And when you give, you're not just healing others, you're healing yourself. A heart that gives is a heart that remembers its vastness. It stops counting, measuring, and fearing lack. Because here's the secret: you never lose what you give. You only lose what you cling to. And wealth in any form is meant to flow, like water in a river. When it's hoarded, it stagnates. When it's shared, it nourishes. Even the smallest stream can sustain a thirsty traveler. Even the simplest kindness can change a life. And over time, Dāna becomes more than a practice. It becomes a way of being. You find yourself offering before being asked, giving anonymously, letting go without calculation, and it transforms you, not into a saint or martyr, but into someone lighter, someone no longer owned by their possessions, someone whose wealth, whatever its size, becomes a tool for compassion. And here's the beautiful irony: the more you give, the richer you feel. Not in things, but in the quiet, undeniable wealth of the heart. A kind of joy no one can tax, steal, or sell. And the world, for all its madness, becomes a little softer, a little warmer, a little more beautiful because of you. But even in giving, wisdom matters. Because generosity isn't about draining yourself dry. It's about giving mindfully, about knowing when to offer, what to offer, and to whom, and how to give in a way that uplifts both the giver and the receiver. A balance that only deepens with practice. And that wisdom, the wisdom to give well, to live well, to love without attachment, is what turns generosity into a doorway to the kind of freedom money could never buy. And as we pass through it, another question quietly stirs. If wealth and giving aren't the enemy, if we can earn ethically and give joyfully, then what's left to hold us back? Perhaps only the illusions we still carry about control, about permanence, about ownership. And that, my friend, is where the deepest lesson awaits, and it's waiting just ahead. In a world that endlessly whispers, more, 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 there's a rare, defiant kind of happiness found not in having, but in needing less. The Buddha called it santutti, contentment, and he spoke of it not as resignation, not as settling for scraps in a world of abundance, but as a profound inner wealth, a richness no market crash can touch, no thief can steal, and no ambition can outshine. Because what is wealth, really? Is it numbers in an account, acres of land, shimmering trinkets displayed for the admiration of others? Or is it the ability to close your eyes at night with nothing gnawing at your heart? To sip a cup of tea, feel the sun on your skin, hear the laughter of a friend, and know it is enough. That, my friend, is the greatest wealth. And yet, we've been conditioned to believe otherwise. From the moment we're born, the world begins its seduction, promising happiness just around the corner, when you get the promotion, when you own the car, when the house is bigger, when the clothes are finer. And so we run, chasing horizons that forever retreat. It's not that pleasure is wrong. The Buddha never taught ascetic misery. He didn't ask us to flee from the world's sweetness, but he did caution against craving the restless hunger that insists, "This is not enough. I am not enough, I must have more." Because craving is a fire, and the more you feed it, the hotter it burns. Contentment, on the other hand, is a cool, steady flame, a quiet satisfaction in what is. It doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you stop chasing. You can still work, still dream, still build, but from a place of sufficiency, not desperation. The one who is content is not poor for lacking what others own. They are rich in knowing they already have what matters most: a peaceful mind, a heart unburdened by envy, the ability to appreciate without comparison, and the wisdom to walk away from what doesn't nourish the soul. There's an old saying in the Dhammapada: rich is the one who is content, poor is the one who craves. And you see it everywhere. The billionaire terrified of losing his fortune, the celebrity desperate for applause, the social climber forever seeking validation. They have wealth, but no wealth at all. And then there's the monk in his faded robe, or the farmer resting in the shade, or the mother humming a lullaby in a modest home, whose hearts are vast, because they ask for nothing more than what this moment offers. And when you live like that, every breeze feels like a blessing, every meal a feast, every dawn a miracle, because contentment isn't about shrinking your life. It's about expanding your gratitude. It's about seeing clearly how little you truly need to be at peace, and how most of what the world sells is noise, distractions dressed up as necessities. And so the wise simplify. They don't strip life bare. They just release the unnecessary. And in that uncluttered space, joy arises. It's the joy of freedom, of not having your happiness held hostage by circumstances, of not needing to impress, acquire, or outperform. And that is the rarest treasure of all. Because when you no longer measure your worth by possessions, you begin to discover the wealth that was always yours, the wealth of clarity, the wealth of kindness, the wealth of calm, the wealth of a mind unchained. And in that wealth, generosity flows naturally. Fear evaporates, and life in all its simplicity becomes deeply, astonishingly enough. And perhaps this is what all the great sages meant when they spoke of inner freedom. Not a life without desire, but a life without neediness. Not a heart without ambition, but a heart at peace with whatever comes. And maybe, just maybe, wealth was never the problem. It was our grasping, our comparing, our forgetting that even the simplest life, when lived awake, can feel like paradise. And so, if you are seeking treasure, here it is: contentment, the rarest coin in the world, and the only one you'll take with you when all else is gone. But before we close this path, one final truth remains. Because even as we make peace with money, as we earn ethically, give freely, and live content, there's one last illusion to unravel. The illusion of ownership itself. And the deepest freedom comes when you realize that nothing, not even your wealth, your body, your very name, was ever truly yours to keep. And that awakening is just ahead. And so here we are. After all the words, stories, and ancient wisdom, it circles back to a simple, timeless truth. Wealth was never meant to be counted in gold, but in peace. Not in what you hold in your hands, but in what you carry in your heart. The Buddha never condemned money. He never demanded poverty. But he did offer a question, one we rarely ask ourselves. What is it that you're truly chasing? Is it the shine of possessions or the glow of inner freedom? Is it the applause of others or the quiet approval of your own soul? Is it fleeting pleasure or unshakable peace? Because if it's peace you seek, you won't find it by hoarding, by craving, by clinging to what will inevitably slip through your fingers. You'll find it in the middle way. A life where money serves but never masters, where wealth flows but never defines, where contentment isn't the absence of ambition but the presence of wisdom. You'll find it in right livelihood, earning in ways that uplift, not harm. In generosity, where giving becomes a joy, not a burden. And in remembering that everything you possess, including this very breath, is a temporary guest. This world, for all its beauty, is a fleeting stage. And the richest among us are those who walk it awake, who savor what they have while it's here and release it when it's gone, knowing that nothing can be truly owned, only experienced. True wealth is a calm mind, a compassionate heart, a spirit untethered by possessions, the ability to meet each moment, whether clothed in silk or in rags, with grace. And perhaps the real treasure was never what we chased out there, but what quietly waited within us all along. So now, dear listener, I'll leave you with this thought. May your hands be busy enough to build, your heart light enough to let go, and your soul rich enough to need nothing at all. Because in the end, the only wealth you truly take with you is the peace you made within yourself. And if these words stirred something in you, a question, a calm, a quiet smile, I invite you to stay connected with us. Subscribe to our channel for more timeless Buddhist wisdom, thoughtful reflections, and soulful storytelling. And if this journey meant something to you, leave us a comment. Tell us what wealth means to you now. Let's keep this conversation alive together, because the world needs more hearts like yours. Until next time, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be at peace.